This is Dateline News and Conversation. I have a very interesting program tonight. My guests are Dragana Tripkovic from Serbia in Belgrade and Patrick Poppel from Austria. We're going to talk about their individual activities. They also work together. We're going to talk about Friends of Crimea because Patrick and Dragana and I are Friends of Crimea. And we're also going to talk about some political and geopolitical issues, which I think are going to be very interesting. We have somebody from Serbia, somebody from Austria, and myself, an American who's been living in Yalta, as many of you know, for many years. So first, I want to welcome Dragana and Patrick to the show. Welcome and thank you.
Thank you very much for inviting us.
You're welcome. Well, it's my pleasure. And I'm very happy because all three of us are Friends of Crimea and Friends of Russia. And we are trying to open the eyes of people in Europe and in the United States and around the world about the truth about Russia and Crimea. And so I'm going to begin tonight with Dragana because she's a woman and she's much more attractive than Patrick or me. So Dragana, I'm going to start with you. Here's my question. People are going to be very interested in you and your background. And I'm going to ask you questions about your country, the politics, and the politics in relationship to Russia. So first of all, Dragana, tell me a little bit about your background in Belgrade, Serbia.
Thank you very much. I was born in Belgrade, 76. I finished the school and the faculty in the Belgrade, and also I finished the master or magisterium and PhD in engineering and master in the terrorism, organized crime and security. So my education is based on the engineering and security mostly, but also I finished different courses in the security as well.
Well, wait a minute. Dragana, how does engineering fit with terrorism and security? I mean, what kind of an engineer are you? And what did you get your PhD? What was your dissertation?
Technical science are really very close to military, so I think it's not a surprise. I know too many people which are, for example, which they finished military academy and they continue to learn in the technical science. So I think it's very connected. I know too many people which are very connected.
So the people you're connected with, are they in Serbia or are they in other countries? Or are they in Russia?
I mean, I know a lot of colleagues from Serbia which are involved in military and technical science, but probably there are also examples in other countries as well. But I have too many colleagues everywhere in the Russia, of course, Middle East, in Africa, in America, in whole Europe. So I'm working with a lot of people and I have really a lot of contacts everywhere.
Okay, so you also founded an organization. Tell me about this organization. What is your mission? What is the purpose? And I know that you spend a good deal of time in Moscow, in Russia, correct?
Yes. The last 15 years, I live in Belgrade and in Moscow as well. So I found this organization in it was 9 years ago. in 2014. It's the independent organization, or NGO, as we popular call these organizations, but it's not the same like NGOs who are financed by Western governments, for example. We don't have any support from any government, Serbian or any Western or Eastern governments. So my idea was to fund this kind of organization and to work, because I realized in that time that there is not too much opportunities to work in the political organizations or NGOs, because they are fully under control or under a big influence of West. And in that time and now as well, in Serbia, you can find a lot of NGOs and organizations, but they are financed by Western countries mostly. They receive the grants and the money for different projects, but I didn't like this kind of projects, like promotion of some kind of LGBT values or something similar, or inclusion or democracy, because I think it's all false. It's false democracy. It's false values. So we didn't want to work at the same way like these other NGOs. So we decided to register this organization and to start to work, and practically to self-finance our organization. So it was very hard. It was very hard. Next year we will celebrate 10 years since we started to work. But at the end, I'm very satisfied, because we are totally independent, and I'm totally free to say anything what I think, and that is most important for me. And as well, I'm free to criticize everyone, no matter is this US, Russia, Serbia. I criticize everything what I don't like, what I don't see like good for people, for society. So this is a very good connected with this freedom when you have this kind of organization. But I think there are not too many organizations who have the same pattern of work in Serbia as well, but at different countries. Also.
So what is the focus, the mission of your organization? I mean, are you an analyst? Do you consider yourself an analyst? Do you consider yourself a news organization? I'm very curious as to what's the focus, what's the mission of the organization, and do you operate also in Russia?
We cooperate. We have cooperators, all colleagues, all around the world. The name of the organization is Center for Geostrategic Studies. It means that we are involved in everything, in the policy, in the geopolitics, in the philosophy, in the economy as well, technology. So we have different profiles of experts in our center. And also we have, as I said already, the colleagues from different countries. We have colleagues from African countries, like Congo, South African Republic, Egypt, then from Middle East, from Iraq, from Syria. We have colleagues from Russia, of course. We have colleagues from United States and different European countries, from China, from India, from Brazil. So it is very good to connect different people and to work together. And this is very important, because we have different profiles of experts, so we can work on the different levels. And this is like very good platform to discuss about many topics. So we will have opinion of, for example, some expert in economy, together with opinion with some expert in engineering or technology or philosophy, history, and it is today very important because in the past we have this supported, how I can say this, very bad influence in education. So the education in the past was at a very high level, and today it's not anymore. And in the past, we have really also much opportunity to find out about many topics. And now the education is focused on, for example, one topic. And we will need to discuss on higher level about all what is happening now, especially in geopolitics.
Okay, so you're self-funded, independent. I have always been an independent filmmaker because I never wanted to have to answer to anybody with money or corporations or whatever. So I understand that. But are all of these people that are involved in your organization paid? Do you have staff members? I'm curious about that because you say we, and who's the we in Serbia? Is it just you, or do you have staff members?
No, we have around of I think 40 people who are connected with our center, who are the experts of our center. But our base is in Belgrade. But today, with this new technology performances, we have opportunity to work online, to cooperate, no matter that we are not at the same country. With colleagues, for example, with colleagues with Brazil, we didn't have opportunity to meet with them in personally. I hope we are planning some conferences offline, not online, but we are working online. So it means today it is possible to have this kind of organization. Our idea was and still is not to have too many costs, to spend too much money for everything, because we don't have it. We don't have any government who is supporting or sending the grants to us, or we don't have this kind of budget very big. But it is possible to work if you find some sponsors, for example. Mostly we are sponsored by Serbian people who live in diaspora, in the US as well, in Canada, in the European countries. And our vision is, yes, I didn't say that, our vision is not to be politically correct, but to fight for the truth and to find the way to help our people and our state. It means our base idea is to be very responsible.
Well, I think we are in agreement that all of us are searching for the truth.
Yes.
And with so much propaganda, lies, false media, distortions of the truth, spinning all of these stories, I think we have, all three of us and many others have the same thing in common. Before I let you go, and we're going to come back to you after we talk to Patrick, I think many people are going to want to know, Serbia is basically a landlocked country. You have borders with, I think, 4 or 5 other countries. politically now, Serbia, before we move on, I understand you are not a NATO country. The Serbian government is wanting to become part of the EU, the European Union. I want to know what the people in Serbia think about being a neutral country or not a neutral country. So tell me a little bit about that before we move on.
I will say the main thing that the Serbian people are really against NATO because of our experience. We remember the NATO aggression in 1999. And I think more than 85% of people are against any cooperation with NATO. But our government is cooperating with NATO. We signed, it was 8 years ago, in 2015, we signed the SOFA agreement and also the individual plan for cooperation, which is the highest level of cooperation between one country who is not a member of NATO and the NATO as well. So we are formally neutral, but I think we are so much cooperating with NATO that we are not really neutral. And now we will have in June the big exercises with the NATO military in the Serbia, and I think the people are also very bad reacting connected with this situation, and our government is of course developing this relation further with NATO, and at the same time they cut this trainings with Russian army. It was 3 years ago. So we cannot say that we are neutral. And we are also, the Serbia is candidate for European Union. But I think mostly around 38% of citizens now are supporting these EU integrations. But we need to count that we have very hard this EU propaganda in all mainstream medias in Serbia.
Wow. So one final question. This is kind of a complicated situation Serbia is in. Is Serbia a country friendly to Russia in that you participate with NATO and you want to be in the EU? How does Serbia balance that? Are you a friendly or unfriendly country to Russia?
It is very hard to us to say something on this topic because the Serbian people are really pro-Russian. And for example, when this special military operation started in the last year, the Serbia was the first country, or in Belgrade, we organized the big demonstrations to support this special military operation. And I will say that many my colleagues as well from Europe was in shock, and they called me and asked me how you can support that someone is bombing the Ukrainian people. And I think they didn't understand, maybe they still don't understand the real context. And I said, you know, we were bombed in 1999 by NATO, and now Russia is fighting with NATO on the territory of Ukraine, not with Ukrainian people. So they couldn't understand this very well, but this is the situation. It means more than 90% of people are supporting Russia. They want from our government to develop more strategic cooperation with Russia. But unfortunately, our government is under big influence of Western countries, of US. And for example, the U.S. ambassador is Serbia, Christopher Hill, is acting really like president of Serbia because he's decided everything. And for example, last year, Serbia wanted to organize this parade. And after this, when demonstrations started and the Serbian people didn't want this kind of parade in Belgrade, the Serbian president stepped up and said, okay, we will not have this in Serbia. But after this, the ambassador of US, Christopher Hill, said, oh, no, you will have. And we really have this show or parade that really was organized. So we are joking, but this is the truth. He is really acting like our president.
Wow. Well, I want to thank you for that. I personally not only appreciate it, but I've learned a lot more about the situation in Serbia politically, and about your background and what you're doing to discover and share the truth on many levels. We'll get back to that after I go to Patrick. We're going to go to Patrick Poppel now. Patrick, a little bit about your background, your education, where you're at in Austria. I think you're in Vienna. And I want to know, you've been all over the place. You've been to Russia and Crimea many times. You were just in Armenia, I believe. What are you doing there? Are you a diplomat? Are you what are you? So I want you to tell us about that, please.
Somebody called me an agent, but this is not the truth, because I was a very simple guy, technician, education, different businesses, and after this I was interested in geopolitics and working as a freelance journalist, and after this I like to see what's going on in the world. And so I many times traveled to Russia. After the beginning of the war, 2014, I go many times to Russia, and then become a friend of Russia first, because I was very interested in the Eastern culture. So last time I was in Belgrade, the first time in Serbia, and before I was one time in Montenegro, but it's also Serbia. So, but I was, I think, 40 times in Russia. And so I see the other world, other culture, other civilization. What's very interesting. It was a very good influence to me and for my heart and also for my brain. It was very good to visit Russia. Yes, and now I'm the, I can say, I think, most well-known man in Austria when I talk about Russia, because it's not because I'm a very important businessman or I'm very well-known journalist, only about this, that I'm one of the small group of Austrians. They are like, have good relations with Russia. So my wish was that many good businessmen with more and more potential, with good budget, can make different dialogue with Russia. But I think all of them are very afraid about different problems. The fear is in the air. So I think now it's the time of activists and a lot of diplomats. I'm not diplomat, but I'm working for the Foreign Ministry of the Republic of Southern Ossetia and Caucasus, but I'm not a diplomat. It's only working for the ministry there. So I'm also working for the club of Friends of Crimea. So I'm the representative in Austria for this club. So I'm working in people's diplomacy, to connecting people, but also in my free time, when I have time to spend this time for more and more ideas and possibilities. So I'm working also as an analyst and journalist. I have also my own website to publish different informations, different campaigns. One of this campaign is this year. I mean, you know this, very important. So to leave the American sector, because also so when we can make a conclusion about this, we can think about what's happened together. So I can also say we had that last week we had security conference in Vienna, also together with Dr. Tripkovic and other very important and good guests from different countries about Europe. And we hold this conference, this security conference, to make an analysis, to have best practice, to have ideas what's happening in the future in Europe about these different security topics. Not only mass migration, energy supply, or the Ukraine conflict or the situation on Balkan. So very important to collect experts, to collect people, and they can thinking together what's happening in the future. Very important. So these perspectives we can see, and also we can talk about this, and we can also can thinking about what will be happen, what will be in the next years. And this is very important for the people in Europe, because there is no perspective, there is nothing to know, no idea, yes, and no solution for the different problems. So in economic, in war, in inflation, and all these problems, mass migration, social problems. And so I think I see it that it's my passion. It's my passion. So I was many times also in Donbass, on Crimea. I like adventures. This is a problem of mine. So everybody has their own problems. My problem is I like to have an adventure, but we can use our passions for the good things. So we can say, okay, I like to spend time to see what's happened there in conflict zones or wherever, and we can told this to the other people in Europe, because the people in Europe are now under a big pressure of propaganda, disinformation. This is a very big problem now. So I have also seen this when the special operation began 1 year ago. So there are many people. I told them every year. So I was in Donbass, and in Donbass this happened, and this is the situation there. There's war, and the people dying there, and the people, okay, I don't know, it's not interesting for me, and something else. And when the mass media began to explain to people what's happened in February last year, so they believe everything to believe, yes. And this is a problem. So we need more alternative medias. We need more research centers and centers for study, for serious research, and also for the publication of these results. And if we not grow up this in Europe, so we will be only a slave of the information, what's coming from the other side of the Atlantic, from this American sector. And so we are only like the puppets of this disinformation and propaganda. And so I changed my life, and I'm now still working for the truth. It's a hard life, it's a very hard life. It's also, I think it's also dangerous because you have many enemies, but very good friends, but also many enemies. But we must fight for the truth, and we must keep on fighting. This is my statement.
Well, I want to say that I'm very happy and really privileged to have the two of you on tonight together. We must do this again because in my little way, with my filmmaking and my video podcast, I want to help get your individual message out because I think it's very important. You both are working in a very similar way, and I know you work together with different types of experts from around the world, including Europe, America, South America, Africa, to try to not only look for the truth, but to collaborate with others with different experience, different expertise, and different knowledge to find new solutions for the problems that we have, including, Patrick and Dragana, I think you would agree, not only the war, not only America around the world, creating havoc and chaos everywhere, but climate change and how we people who have more in common than our governments do. And I think you would agree. So I'm really pleased to just be another platform to help you get your message out. Patrick, I got to come back to you.
Thank you very much. It's very important.
No, but thank you. Patrick, we've been communicating offline on Telegram and emails. I want you to tell the audience again, not again, but because you mentioned leaving the American sector. Now, I actually fell in love with that concept because I have yeah, you're right.
I have as well.
Yeah, leaving the American sector. I have, in my filmmaking, had the opportunity to travel down through the Pacific and across Europe. I've been to each of your countries. No, I have not been to Serbia. I've been across Europe. I've been to Austria. I've been to Russia, of course. And I've been from Hawaii to Japan, Okinawa, and the Marshall Islands 2 times. And what I found, to my absolute horror and amazement, was the number of American bases in all of these countries. In Hawaii is an American aircraft carrier. I don't know what percentage American military have of Hawaii and the Hawaiian Islands, but it's huge. I saw that with my own eyes. In Japan, oh my goodness, Okinawa, it's one military base after another, and the people hate it. The people want the Americans to go. I know that in Germany, where I've been, there are, I think, more American bases there in Germany, Italy, and Japan than anywhere else in the world. And the people want them to go. Hello? Tell me now, Patrick, what is this leaving the American sector about? Because I don't think you're alone in promoting this idea.
No, I'm not alone because also I have many supporters. One of the supporters is also a guest in our video today. So thank you also for Dragana and for other peoples. They know and understand this reality that we have these big problems also in Europe. I can also talk about Europe because I'm living in Europe. when we see this mass migration, there's a big problem for the social stability in Europe. So it's also a result of the American aggression wars in Syria, Libya, and other states, Iraq, Afghanistan. You can see where the refugees come. They come from these states are bombed by the USA. In my young time, also, we have many migrants from Serbia, from other parts of the Balkan. They come also from different wars, organized and supported by the US interests. So first, the people in Serbia, the people in Arabic countries understand what is the American sector. The American sector is not our friend. The first important thing. And I like to change the words, change the wording. We should not talk about the West, the collective West, or something else. We must talk about the American sector because we have this sector, this influence of the sector in medias. We have this economic relations, contracts, and something else, military partnership, and also an occupation. So we have also Germany as an occupied country. Nobody likes to talk about this, but the reality is the Soviets leave the German sector, but the Americans don't leave the German sector. So we have the American occupation in Germany now. It still happens. This is the reality now. Important is on this card. This is a very important thing. This card was on the checkpoint Charlie between West and East Berlin, because when you are across the border in the Cold War, so you leave the American sector. And now we have the border between the American sector and the Soviet sector, or the Russian sector, or the sector of the free world. We have this in Kaliningrad, in Kherson, on the border to Belarus. And this is a big problem. So this sector is expanding, not only expanding in occupation or in military relations to other countries, also expanding in media, in influence, in soft power. We can see what's happening now in Georgia, in Armenia. Also, the influence of the Americans is very big, and also in Serbia, yes, and to visit Montenegro, Chernogorия, you can also see there. This is they have this influence in every state when they are not can protect themselves from this influence in culture, in politics, in economical relations, and also about this defense relations. We must see we have here a really attack against sovereign countries. It's very important. And they go also against the young people. You can see it in the culture and the lifestyle. And was also a topic today, these gay pride parades. This parade is the parade of the American sector. It's not the parade from the Serbian people. It's not the parade for the Russian people, the Belarusian people, the Armenian people. There was a gay pride parade in Georgia. No, this is the parade of the American sector, of the new values. It's the new values. So against the old values. It's old values. We don't need it because it's not smart to think in this old values. It's better to make a new culture. This new culture of fast food, jeans, gay pride, gender mainstreaming, climate change, and hate against Russia and all people, they are not together with the values of the Americans, because these are the new world. These are the new civilization, and it's spreading out. from the structure of this American sector. So this is my statement.
Well, I very much appreciate that, because America's foreign policy is about colonialism and occupation. My eyes were opened when I went to Jeju Island in South Korea in 2012. Prior to that, I was a very well-educated American. I believed in the United States and the freedom and democracy. But when I went to South Korea, I saw for the first time what my country did there after the war, before the Korean War, but after World War II. They committed atrocities. They commanded and directed the mass killing of some 30,000 peasants on Jeju Island who rose up against the American military government that took over Korea. And they thought they were free from 37 years of Japanese rule. And I saw the bases there, the American bases, and I saw what the soldiers were doing to the local people. And that changed my life. I became very radicalized. I became very anti-American foreign policy. My films are really about exposing the real history of the United States from the beginning, when the white European colonialists came to the Americas. And what did they do? They committed genocide of millions and millions of North Americans and South Americans. They were involved in the stealing and theft of land, resources, and then slavery was the theft of human labor. They stole that. America was built on genocide and slavery. And you know, ever since that time, that has been America's MO, modus operandi. It's what they've done all over the world, all over the world. They've invaded more than 500 countries in American history. No other country has ever done that. Not even Rome. Rome did not have that expanse. And so when you say leaving the American sector, I know that there are many people in Asia, the Pacific Islands, from Hawaii all the way down to the Marshall Islands, who want the American sector to go away. They want to leave it. They're tired of this, I call it evil influence. It's serving America's interests, which is money, which is greed, which is land, which is resources. And so that's why, Patrick and Dragana, I think what you're doing is so important, and helping people understand that the American sector is not about freedom and democracy and building democracy in places like Georgia, Armenia, Abkhazia, Ossetia. It is not about democracy. It is about controlling these countries, to steal their resources, and to use the political influence against Russia. And so that's my mission, to expose people wherever they are to this. So I have to thank you for this. It's a brilliant concept, leaving the American sector. Yankee, go home. I hear that everywhere. Now, we have some 20 minutes left. Dragana, I want to come back to you. You're involved in geopolitical issues. I have realized for some time, Dragana and Patrick, that this conflict in Ukraine is not just about trying to weaken Russia. This conflict in Ukraine, and by the way, the United States, this is a war, undeclared war of the United States against Russia. I got to be clear about that. But at the same time, the United States is, quote unquote, trying to contain China, which is really an undeclared, non-shooting war yet with China, for the sole purpose of being engaged in an epic battle for the future order of the world. I want to talk now what both of you have been talking about or involved in. Geopolitically, things are happening so fast, moving away from the United States unipolar, hegemonic world to a multipolar world. Dragana, I want to come to you first. How do you see what's happening on this macro level, this higher level, geopolitical level? What is really happening?
Yes, a lot of things are happening now. As you said, we are living in these historical times. But the basic is that I will mention Brzezinski and his thoughts that America cannot, don't have power to fight at the same time with Russia and China. So he suggested that America should not come in this position to be in conflict with Russia and China at the same time, but we have really now this situation. As you said, I think as well that we have war between NATO, led by US, and Russia in Ukraine, and this is the war which US started in 2014 in this coup in Kiev, Maidan, and it's still continuing. And now, of course, it's we have much harder war than at the beginning because the Russia reacted. But I think we had too many opportunities to avoid this because Russia didn't want to have this war and didn't want to have wars at all. And I think the China as well is not interested in the wars. They want to develop their strategic project, one belt, one road, and they are interested in business, in developing economic ties with other countries. So who is interested in the war? I think we have, I will not say that America is guilty because, as I said, I have too many colleagues in the US, and also I know very good people from US, and I think for you as well, that you are not wrong. But we have very wrong political elites in US, and it started from 19th when this we have Warsaw Pact crashed and Soviet Union as well. So from this time when the US became the most powerful country in the world and create this monopolar world, we had really bad political elites in US, like Clinton, like Obama, like Wesley Clark, like Rumsfeld, like Madeleine Albright. I need to mention her because she is very involved in war in Yugoslavia, and she is very, I think, guilty for this, what is happening till now in Serbia. And I will say we have the biggest military base, US military base in Europe, in our southern province, Kosovo and Metohija. So the US opened this military base after the bombing. But to return to China, Russia, and US, the problem is that these political elites are interested in creating the wars. I think the concept was it's not a new concept. It's the concept from 90s. It's the concept of clash of civilizations. It's a Huntington concept. He wrote this book in the 1930s, I think, in the time of war in the Bosnia, in territory of former Yugoslavia. And that is the idea. No war, no money. It is good to create the wars, then to control different countries, to sell the weapons, and they don't care about people. Because I remember when Albright was asked, is she sorry because I don't know how many thousands of Iraq children died. She said, no, it's a war. It's normal. So they don't care about human lives, and that is the problem. And now situation is very serious because we live in the era of nuclear weapon. The China is nuclear power as well as Russia and US. And I think in some way US is interested in war, but not in this kind of war, nuclear war, when where she can be hit as well, because the Russia has this hypersonic weapon and nuclear rockets as well as China. So the problem is in the First World War and the Second World War, there was this situation that US and the Great Britain as well was protected because it was not easy to invade or to hit these countries. But now the situation is different, and I hope so that these I need to say really crazy and evil political elites need to understand they need to stop. They need to stop this, what they are doing for decades. And it's over because we will have some different world. I'm very happy because of this, because I didn't like this monopolar world and this pressure and this bombing for democracy and so on. So I think we will have more justice in the future in this multicultural world, multipolar.
Yeah, wow. It's interesting that you're hopeful. I still maintain a little bit of hope that sanity will prevail. But I made a film. After I made the first film, The Ghost of Jeju, I made another film in 2017 after I came to Russia the first time, because I was concerned about a nuclear war like you're talking about. And I've been concerned about it for a long time, a war between America and Russia. And at that time, 2012, 2013, things were already getting bad between Russia and the United States. And I said at the end of the film, will the neocons in Washington, realizing they have lost this epic battle for control of the future order of the world, take us all down in a nuclear Armageddon? That was in 2012, 2013. Here we are in 2023. We are closer to nuclear annihilation than we have ever been, because of these neocons in Washington that are gambling with the future of humanity on the planet. And we need to fight this with all we have. My hope, as is yours, is that thanks to President Putin, who I think has been in the forefront on the political stage in the world, more than Xi, it's been Putin talking about a multipolar world. Yes. Strict observance of international law and the UN Charter, the sovereignty of every nation, no matter how large or small, equality, prosperity for everybody, not just the United States of America. And so I'm hopeful about that. But this is where we're at. Will they, those crazies in Washington, and I don't call them political elite, excuse me, they are the political psychopaths.
Yes, you are right.
Yeah. And anyway, so I'm very concerned about that, but I am hopeful. Patrick, your thoughts on what we've been talking about. Do you agree with Dragana? Do you agree with me that these major things that are happening on a geopolitical level are changing the way the world could run, hopefully will run in the future?
I think the first thing everybody must understand is this multipolar world is in reality. It's not an idea or something else or something people writing about books or talking about this. So it's the reality. We can see it in these different allies we have. So we have it in the BRICS, in the Shanghai Treaty. We have this also in the Eurasian Commission. So we have not only one power, and this is America, the NATO, and the European Union. We have different other pacts, very important. So I think the biggest problem we have now is really the escalation of this war in Ukraine. This is the biggest problem for everybody in the world. We can see it also in these different economic problems. We see it also in Austria or something else about the refugees from the Ukraine, and this can also grow up to a big conflict between Europe and Russia, not only of the territory of the Ukraine. And also the next step is a war with rockets and with these different nuclear weapons or other weapons or other kinds of warfare we can use, both sides. Yes. And this is, I think, the biggest problem now we have, and also in the perspective for the peaceful world we like to live in there. Yes. It is very, very. So we must think about this, and we must. I have no fear, and I'm not afraid about this because I'm a believer. I have no problems. Tomorrow is the Armageddon. Everything is okay for me. I have no problems about it. But it is a fight between the good and the evil. We have this metaphysic perspective. This we must understand it. So we have the world. They like to make a slavery world, and we have other side, different countries. They have their own ideas. So it's not similar, Russia and China and Africa, but they're working together. But when we see the West, this American sector, the collective West, we have the same values. This is one mixture of everything, but it's one corpus. It's one block. And the other world, I'd say the world. So Southern America, Africa, Asia, Russia. So they have different ideas, different civilizations, and they like to find a way to work together against this block. They only like to have a civilization of slavery and control, something else. So the life in Russia or in China or in Africa or Southern America is very different, also for the different people. Yes. So it's something is better, something is not so good. Okay. But the West, and I call it the American sector, this American sector, so America, Canada, and Europe, this is one block with this very, very strange new world values, and this is for the next generation a big problem. And so I think there will be an escalation. This is the only way to salute the problem, or an implosion of this. I don't know, but we can see what's now happening in France. In France we can see what's happening there. So they're burning the paper baskets every day and the police cars. So this is Europe. And in Germany, when you are women, after different time on the evening, you should not go out in different big cities. So this is Europe. This is the European values. But every year is the Gay Pride Parade. This is the cultural statement for the people. So I see we have two blocks. One unipolar block and one monopolar block. It's also a block because they are working together, but they have different relations, they have different ideas. But this monopolar block of the world, so this American sector, I think they have no future. And they're printing now money, but they have no idea. And the only destabilization of other states. It's not a very good business model for the future because all these experience they have in different color revolutions, regime changes. This also the other side know this, and they have the different counterattacks against this. We can see it in example in Belarus. So there was also the idea to make a regime change against Mr. Lukashenko, and it was not successful. And they try in different ways with demonstrations on the streets, with an hybrid warfare, with sanctions, and also in the last with the assassination of the president and his family. But they haven't had success. There was no possibility to do this in Belarus. It's a very small country, very little population. It's not the Congo, it's not Russia, it's not China, it's Belarus. So we can see they try to do something with Western sector, with American sector, but there has not the power if they had before. And this is very important. So I think we are not now in the American century. We are living in a new century, maybe the Russian and the Chinese century, or the Eurasian and African century, or something else. But it's not the American century. This is my last statement today.
Well, I want to thank you both very much. And if you're willing, I am happy to give you a platform together independently to continue to promote the vision and the solutions that both of you have put forward. And I like to think, and this is my hope, that we stop thinking in terms of a unipolar world, a multipolar world, that we start to think about this planet without borders. We're all humans. There's only one race. And my hope is that we can learn as we move away from the American sector, which is also the history of Europe and Rome, to dominate and control, but a new vision that respects the dignity and the sovereignty of all people, and a new world that wants to raise the quality of life and living of everybody on this planet. So I want to thank you both so much. I have learned a lot. I think people will learn a lot from both of you. I look forward to having you back again.
Thank you very much, Mr. Regis. It was my pleasure. Thank you.
Thank you. Greetings from Vienna.